Hey, greetings and good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Gospel, episode number 21. And today we will be in the book of Matthew, chapter 26 and 27. But since this is a Holy Week, I wanted to start off with Jesus Christ, who is speaking to his disciples, the ones who put their faith, trust, and belief in him. Jesus Christ says, "But now I'm going away to the one who sent me, and not one of you is asking where I'm going. Instead, you grieve because of what I've told you. But in fact, it is best for you that I go away, because if I don't, the advocate won't come. If I do go away, then I will send him to you. And when he comes, he will convict the world of its sin and of righteousness and of judgment. The world's sin is that it refuses to believe in me. Righteousness, because I'm going to the Father and you will see me no more. Judgment will come because the ruler of this world has already been judged. There is so much more I want to tell you, but you can't bear it now. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on his own, but will tell you what he has heard. He will tell you about the future. He will bring me glory by telling you whatever he has received from me. All that belongs to the Father is mine. That is why I said, the Spirit will tell you whatever he receives from me. Period. That's John chapter 16, verses 5 through 15. Now, there's just so much that we just learned right here, just in this 10 verses. 1, Jesus Christ equivalates himself to God the Father. He says, all that belongs to the Father is mine. That is why I said the Spirit will tell you whatever he receives from me. The Spirit is the Spirit of truth. And when it comes, he will guide us into all the truth. All the truth. Not just biblical truth. All the truth. Period. And he will tell us about the future. Now, the thing that the Spirit will do is convict the world of its sin. The sin is not believing in Jesus Christ. And we can even see this in the modern day church. The modern day church don't believe in Jesus Christ. They believe in the Apostle Paul in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, that all scripture is the same. It's all the same. It's all God-breathed. Doesn't matter if you're reading from the Ecclesiastics or Proverbs, which is clearly the teacher of the teachings of King Solomon. Doesn't matter. It's equivalent to Jesus Christ. It doesn't matter if you're listening to Peter, Paul, or James. It's all the same. They refuse to believe in Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ reigns supreme. Why? Because all that belongs to the Father is mine. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to Jesus Christ. That's John chapter 3, verse 38. All authority has been given to Jesus Christ. So the conviction of the world, its sin, is not believing in Jesus Christ. The second conviction is of righteousness, where Jesus Christ says, I go to be with the Father, where you will see me no longer. Jesus Christ is the only righteous person. There's no one righteous. No one. Not one person is righteous. None. There is no righteousness in this world. Jesus went to the Father, who is the only righteous sacrifice ultimately, which we're going to get into in Matthew chapter 26 and 27. And of judgment. The world has already been judged. The world's already judged. It already stands condemned. The ruler of this world is already judged. So there's no need to judge anything. There's no reason to judge, period. All we have is truth. We are all sinners. We will all continue to sin. So the only thing we have left is our advocate. Our advocate is truth. Jesus Christ says, I am the truth. Okay. And you will know the truth. And it is the truth that will set you free. You got to speak truth. That's all it is. During this most holy week, I know the truth scares a lot of people. Because a lot of people, better yet, everyone, are sinners. Everyone's a sinner. And so the truth scares them because they say, well, if I could do whatever it is I want to do, but I just need to be honest, what if I commit crime? What if I do illegal activity, but I don't want to share with anyone? Well, you're doing what is evil. That's what it is. This is God. God is truth. God is truth. So the judgment, the sin, not sins, the sin is not believing in Jesus Christ. The judgment the righteousness is there is nobody righteous. Jesus Christ has gone to be with the Father. Not one is righteous. And finally, the judgment is, why judge anybody? The world's already condemned. Those are the three. Wanted to open with that because, like Jesus Christ says, we will receive the Spirit of truth. And when we receive the Spirit of truth, he will guide us into all truth and he will tell us about the future. Now, this is what I wanted to spend in the last video, which was supposed to only be about 10-15 minutes, which is the truth tells us the future. Why? Because Jesus Christ is the truth. So the truth will tell us the future. It's just I kind of went a little overboard on the last video with spending more time than I really wanted to, and we didn't get to the most important part, which is what Jesus Christ tells us. So let's do a quick recap on the last video, which is the truth will always tell us the future. Now, I'll give you an example, if you're wondering. An example is, let's say you drive around town or you do whatever you want to do, but you never fill up your car with gas. What's going to happen if you don't put gas in your car? You're going to run out of gas. You're going to get stranded on the side of the road. Right? So the truth will tell you the future. What happens, let's say if you work out every day for the next couple of years. You work out for the next couple of years. You're lifting weights, you're running, you're jogging, you're doing everything exercise for the next 2 years. What's going to happen? You're going to get very healthy. You're going to get strong, buff, because you've been working out for the last 2 years. The truth will tell you the future. Let's say you spend beyond your means. You have credit cards, but you just spend beyond your means. Let's say you only make $5,000 a month, but you seem to spend $10,000 a month. You only make $5,000 a month, but you spend $10,000 a month. What's going to happen? You're going to go bankrupt. You're going to be in financial ruin. You're going to probably lose your home, your everything, because you spend more than you make. You spend beyond your means. The truth will tell you the future. And I was saying all that because that's where America is right now. America is in ruin. America spends beyond its means. They say that high blood pressure is the silent killer. You don't even know it's there. You have high blood pressure, and next thing you know, you're dead. Gives you a heart attack. Organ failure. You die because you had high blood pressure and you didn't even know it. That's what the economy, that's what just trade wars. That's what these tariffs is. It's America's high blood pressure. You don't see it. You don't really understand it. But this is the most vital. This is what's going to destroy America. Tariffs, trading, sales and imports, exports and import. You know what all this is? Is money. That's what it all boils down to, is money. Tariffs. We want more money. We want you to buy more goods. We want this. Jesus Christ makes it perfectly clear. You cannot serve God and serve money. And right now, that is what the entire world is all about. Money. They're serving money and not God. But let's focus on America for a minute, because America is spending beyond its means. Just look at it. Every country, we export half than what we import from that country. If you just look at the tallies. We're always, in other words, we're spending beyond our means. We're not selling as much as we're buying. The truth will tell you the future, what will happen that's going to bring us to a financial ruin. If not already, we're $37 trillion in debt, right? And so here's the thing. I have no trust in the American people, like I've said before, right? Because of the fact that, let's just think about this just for a sec. We're not going to get into this whole video again, because we're going to get into the most important portion right here of Matthew, which is during Holy Week, Matthew chapter 26 and 27. But the truth is that when you look at what's going on in America, it's a lot bigger than we can really imagine. You see, I already told you that 40% of everything we own is from China, right? So we're now trying to tax all these things. We don't make nothing in America. Let's just put that clear. We don't make anything in America of relevance of your common goods. We may make Boeing airplanes and sell them at 25 million a plane, you know what I mean? Something like that. But we're not selling you packs of socks. We're not doing any of that. My point is that even if we do bring these factories, these manufacturing jobs back to America, even the little factories and manufacturing jobs that we have now, we're deporting half the workforce that will even work these jobs with the immigrants. So I'm just telling you what it is. I'm not pro-immigrant. I'm not anti-tariff, because if we don't take care of what we're doing right now around the world with the tariffs, then in 20 years, let's just picture this for a minute. Because this is our high blood pressure. This is what's going to kill us. I'm telling you what's going to kill us. Why? Because the truth will tell us the future. What's going to kill us is, if we don't do anything about this right now, Donald Trump and the tariffs and anything else, in 20 years, America is going to be irrelevant. Why? Because in the last 40 years, all these other countries have gotten extremely rich off of America. That's what it is. We buy everything, we don't sell anything. Irrelevance. They've gotten extremely rich. So what will another 20 years bring? They would make them even more rich. And that would make us more in debt, since we don't make anything, right? This is why it's important now, so that we can have an eye-opener and maybe try to save our country. Because of the fact, let's just think about it. When all the factories closed back in the 70s, the 70s and especially the 80s, I remember the 90s. In the 90s, we only had like about 40 cable channels, 40 to 50 cable channels. This was in the 90s. And just one HBO, one Cinemax, one Showtime. And now they have like a dozen Cinemaxes, a dozen HBOs, a dozen Showtimes. They have over 1,000 channels. My point is that we got rid of all our factories, and now all the shows and movies that came out in the 80s, we do 90% more every year today in 2025. What I mean is now you got so many more people wanting to be movie stars, actors, producers, writers. None of this is common goods. None of this is buying socks, underwear type stuff, right? So we're spending beyond our means, and this is going to be our high blood pressure. This is a silent killer. Is that now, if we don't do this now and try to bring manufacturing jobs back to America, which brings us to another problem, is that Americans aren't going to work these factories. They're not going to work them. Even the little factories that we have right now, half of those employees are undocumented immigrants. They're immigrants. They're illegals. And we're shipping them out. Now, this isn't pro-immigration. This is where America needs to strap on its boots, put on its hard hat, and get back to work. I'm telling you, real work, not sitting behind a desk, if we're going to make this happen. And that's the problem, is it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Because right now, we're deporting the workforce, which are the farmers, the construction workers, the landscaping, maids, housekeepers, the cleaners, the warehouses that we have right now in general, the roofers. You know, my company that I work for just last year built a new roof on top of the building. It's probably 50,000 square feet. 50,000 square feet of building. And we just had a new roof put on it last year. About the dozen or dozen and a half employees that were there, I don't think not one of them spoke English. But when they came down, they were fried. They were burnt beyond belief because they're on a roof for about 2 weeks. It took like about a week and a half, 2 weeks in the direct sun in 100-degree temperatures, which the roof was probably about 120 degrees. And there was about maybe, 20 of them, 15 to 20 of them. That took about 2 weeks to put a new roof on about 40 to 50,000 square feet and blazing hot summer heat. Can you imagine Americans doing this type of work? No, I can't. That's why I say, and if we're going to bring the jobs back here, the manufacturing, you're talking about cutlery, plates, fine china, pots, pans, shoes, socks, soap, Band-Aids, toothpaste, toys, bikes, car parts, electronics, TVs, headphones, laptops, iPhones, cell phones, printers, brooms, mops, shirts, pants, underwear, towels. Everything, 40% of everything comes from China. Are we going to have a factory for all these things? Are we going to be employing all these Americans to go back into this type of work? The reason why I tell you that is because we spend beyond our means, and the truth will tell you the future. We're going to go bankrupt and it's not going to be good. And that's what's coming. There's no going around it. You see, China, who builds everything, the world is now having two choices here. Do we buy everything from China, or do we work with America, who in reality doesn't make anything anyway? They just buy everything. America just buys everything. You see, you can't serve God and serve money. The spirit that we receive from Jesus Christ will tell us the future. It will guide us into all truth, not just biblical truth. Not just biblical truth. And we're talking about manufacturing jobs in America, not assembling jobs, making the parts to assemble. That's the truth. And the world is serving only God. It's just serving only money and not God. The world is. Because everything's about the economy. At the highest level, the world is worshiping money and not God. Why? Because they refuse to believe in Jesus Christ. They refuse to believe in what he says. Love your neighbor. Do you charge people who you love? The second issue that we have is the government worker. There's more government employees than there are private sector in this country. The majority of this country are government workers. They're not private sector. When I say government workers, I mean the police, the SWAT team, the fire department, ICE agents, the military, the hospitals, the schools, the school districts, which are publicly funded, the teachers, the principals, janitors. I'm talking about the road crews that are contracted through the government to build the roads and fix them. More than half of the American employees work for the government. Less than half of American employees work for the private sector, which are independent companies, independent jobs. All I'm saying is we're spending beyond our means. I want to show you a quick video here. I just want you to listen to this real quick. This is about the Los Angeles fire that happened in Los Angeles earlier this year. The city just approved $3 million to continue testing the soil. Let's just listen.
More soil testing will be done on properties around the Eaton Fire burn area. The LA County Board of Supervisors has agreed to spend $3 million to expand testing. It comes after recent tests found...
That's in the news. That was from yesterday. They're going to spend $3 million. I just want you to think about this for a minute. This is the government, like I was saying, the private sector, to continue to do more testing, not what they already spent on testing. They're going to do more testing of the soil on the ground in the Eaton fires. How in the world does this cost $3 million? I want you to think about that. $3 million to test soil? To test soil? How hard is this? Let's think about this for a minute. Let's say you have a briefcase with 50 tubes and you go to 50 different areas of fire and you pick up dirt, you put them in a tube, you go to the lab and you test them. Why does this cost $3 million taxpayer dollars? $3 million. Let that sink in. They approved $3 million to continue their soil testing. Really? Just some guy drives around his little, government vehicle, right? Gets out, pulls out a little tube, puts a little bit of dirt in this tube and seals it up, puts it back in his little briefcase. Does this about maybe 50 properties, goes back to the laboratory to test them, and this costs $3 million? Government workers in all levels, there are more in America than in the private sector. The truth will always tell us the future. So I don't care what anyone has to say. Just look at what's going to come about. When you spend beyond your means, what's going to happen? We've been doing this now for the last 40, 50 years. We're $37 trillion in debt. Why does everyone keep saying that we're the richest nation in the world if we have a $37 trillion debt? That's like me telling you, oh, I'm rich, man. I'm rich, even though I have $37,000 credit debt. I have a $37,000 credit debt, but I'm rich. It doesn't make sense. So the truth will tell us the future. Why don't we listen to who the truth is? And that's Jesus Christ. But I promise you this. I don't care what anybody thinks. When you crunch the numbers, things aren't looking good at all for America. Because we spend beyond our means. Americans don't like to work. So I don't know about all these factories and these warehouses that are be making all of our stuff. It's all coming to a head. And I'm talking about 10 years, 20 years if we decide to leave everything the way it is. I say 20 years because if we just leave everything the way it is, well, then these countries that are already super rich are just going to get more super rich, and America is going to get more super poor since we spend twice as much that we make. It's not looking good. Let's get into Matthew chapter 26. When Jesus had finished saying all these things, he said to his disciples, "As you know, Passover begins in 2 days, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified." At that same time, the leading priests and elders were meeting at the residence of Caiaphas, the high priest, plotting how to capture Jesus secretly and kill him. But not during the Passover celebration, they agreed, or the people may riot. Killers, right? Liars and murderers. Those are children of the devil. Liars and murderers. Meanwhile, Jesus was in Bethany at the home of Simon, a man who had previously had leprosy. While he was eating, a woman came in with a beautiful alabaster jar of expensive perfume and poured it over his head. The disciples were indignant when they saw this. "What a waste," they said. "It could have been sold for a high price and the money given to the poor." I highly doubt the disciples were thinking of the poor people. But that's what they said, but I highly doubt that that's what they were really planning on doing with the money, right? But Jesus, aware of this, replied, "Why criticize this woman for doing such a good thing to me? You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. She has poured this perfume on me to prepare my body for burial. I tell you the truth. Wherever the good news is preached throughout the world, this woman's deed will be remembered and discussed." And ain't that the truth? We're still talking about the woman with the alabaster jar. You know, Jesus says that you will always have the poor among you. And isn't that true? You will always have the poor among you. As a matter of fact, in some places, they want more homeless people. Why? So that they can employ more of their staff to meet the needs of the homeless people. If there was no homeless people, what would happen to a million jobs that help homeless people? What would happen to all these shelters that help homeless people? You will always have the homeless among you. You will always have them. Why? Because you need to have the homeless among you. Just like you need to have poor people. America needs poor people. Because if everyone was a millionaire in America, then who's going to make your burger when you go to McDonald's? Who's going to stack the shelves at Walmart when you go shopping? Who's going to pack your groceries to deliver them to your house and drive their car to bring them to you? Who's going to work at a gas station? Who's going to work all these jobs? You always have to have poor people, and the homeless will always be among us. The lie is believing that people care. That's the lie. Because you're always going to need the homeless. In fact, you want more homeless people so you could staff more people. You could staff more people. You could get more federal funding from people because you have more of a homeless population. Why do you need so much money if you only have 10 homeless people? You don't. The money that you want is you want because you have 1,000 homeless people, so you get more federal money, right? It's all about money. You cannot serve God and money. But that's the world's sin. They refuse to listen to Jesus Christ. I criticize this woman for doing such a good thing. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. She's poured this perfume on me to prepare my body for burial. Let's go down to 14. Then Judas, Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples, went to the leading priests and asked, "How much will you pay me to betray Jesus to you?" Okay. It's always about money, right? How much will you pay me to betray him to you? Isn't that what it is? I'll tell you, you get rid of money, you get rid of like 90% of murders. Okay? 90% of murders will go away if you got rid of money. If you got rid of life insurance, right? Life insurance is the big killer. I know everybody always looks at it like it's the wife killing the husband, or the children killing the parents, or the parents killing the children, or the husband killing the wife. But we live in a corporate world. A corporate world means that you can get corporate-owned life insurance on you from your job. Your job could be killing you, right? But you never hear about that. But of course, we live in a money, worshiping money, lying and murdering nation. You're children of the devil who worship money and not God. And what are they going to do? Well, they're going to be secretive, and they're going to go and discuss how much money will it cost me to betray him to you. It's all about money at the end of the day. And they gave him 30 pieces of silver. From that time on, Judas began looking for an opportunity to betray Jesus. On the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Where do you want us to prepare the Passover meal for you?" "As you go into the city," he replied, he told them, "you will see a certain man. Tell him, 'The teacher says, my time has come, and I will eat the Passover meal with my disciples at your house.'" Well, the disciples did as Jesus told them and prepared the Passover meal there. When it was evening, Jesus sat down at the table with the 12 disciples. While they were eating, he said, "I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me." Greatly distressed, each one asked in turn, "Am I the one, Lord?" He replied, "One of you who has just eaten from this bowl with me will betray me, for the Son of Man must die. As the scriptures declared long ago, but how terrible it will be for the one who betrays him. It will be far better for that man if he had never been born." Judas, the one who would betray him, also asked, "Rabbi, am I the one?" And Jesus told him, "You have said it." As they were eating, Jesus took some bread and blessed it. Then he broke it in pieces and gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take this and eat it, for this is my body." So I thought it would be great right now as a disciple of Jesus Christ during this Holy Week to take a piece and eat it. This doesn't mean that I'm more holy than anyone. It doesn't mean that you need to do this every time you read Matthew chapter 26. But I want to do this because it's a great opportunity as of this weekend of what's to come, right? And he took a cup of wine and he gave thanks to God for it. He gave it to them and said, "Each of you drink from it, for this is my blood, which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It was poured out as a sacrifice to forgive the sins of many." As a disciple of Jesus Christ, I eat his flesh and I drink his blood. I do what he tells me to do. And if you want to get closer to the Lord, you do this in the privacy of your own home. You eat the flesh of Jesus Christ and you drink his blood. and you say, Lord, use me, possess me. I want the wisdom that comes from you, I want the knowledge, I want the understanding. Do this in the privacy of your home and watch what happens. And he took the cup of wine and gave thanks for it. He gave it to them and said, each of you drink from it. For this is my blood, which confirms the covenant between God and his people. It is poured out as a sacrifice to forgive the sins of many. Mark my words. I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Then they sang a hymn and went out to the Mount of Olives. On the way, Jesus told them, tonight all of you will desert me. For the scriptures say, God will strike the shepherd and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have raised from the dead, I will go ahead of you in Galilee and meet you there. Peter declared, even if everyone else deserts you, I will never desert you. Jesus replied, I tell you the truth, Peter, this very night before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even know me. No, Peter insisted, even if I have to die with you, I will never deny you. And all the other disciples vowed the same. And you know what? I would say the same thing too. I mean, I wasn't there, but if I was, I'll guarantee you I would never have left Jesus Christ. That's God in the flesh. I'm the fearless disciple of Jesus Christ until death and everlasting life. I would never leave Christ. But you know what? You know what Jesus would probably say? Sam, not only will you desert me, you'll be the first one to leave. And not only will you walk away, you'll run away. This is why when Jesus speaks, we listen. And Jesus went with them to the olive grove called Gethsemane, and he said, sit here while I go over there to pray. He took Peter and Zebedee's 2 sons, James and John, and he became anguished and distressed. He told them, my soul is crushed with grief to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. He went on a little further and bowed with his head. I get emotional, actually. This really upsets me, to be honest with you. I was going to try to get through this without getting emotional, actually. But he went on a little further and bowed his face to the ground, praying, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done and not mine. Then he returned to the disciples and found them asleep. Right? He said to Peter, couldn't you watch with me even 1 hour? Keep watch and pray, so you will not give in to temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Then Jesus left them a second time and prayed, my Father, if this cup cannot be taken away unless I drink it, your will be done. When he returned to them again, he found them sleeping, for they couldn't even keep their eyes open. So he went to pray a third time, saying the same thing. And he came to the disciples and said, go ahead and sleep. Have your rest. But look, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. You know why Jesus Christ needed to go to the cross? It's because he's arrested by sinners. What did Jesus do wrong? You know, this is the freedom of speech liberals out there that want to be anti-Christ. We hate God. Stone Jesus to death. What did he do? I thought you cared about the people who don't do anything, right? You can have somebody who beats his wife and is a gang member and gets deported, and you want to go and send a whole delegation to bring him back. But what did Jesus do? Wouldn't you be on his side? Go ahead, have your sleep. But look, the time has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Up, let's be going. Look, my betrayer is here. And even as Jesus said this, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, arrived with a crowd of men, armed with swords and clubs. They had been sent by the leading priests and the elders of the people. The traitor Judas had given them a prearranged signal. You will know which one to arrest when I greet him with a kiss. So Judas came straight to Jesus. Greetings, Rabbi, he exclaimed, and gave him the kiss. Jesus said, my friend, go ahead and do what you've come to do, what you have come for. And the others grabbed Jesus and arrested him. But one of the men with Jesus pulled out his sword and struck the high priest's slave, slashing off his ear. Put away your sword, Jesus told him. Those who use the sword will die by the sword. Don't you realize that I could ask my Father for thousands of angels to protect us and he would send them instantly? Wow. But if I had did, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that describe what must happen now? But if I did, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that describe what must happen now? And Jesus said to the crowd, am I some dangerous revolutionary that you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Why didn't you arrest me in the temple? I was there teaching every day. But this all happened to fulfill the words of the prophets as recorded in the scriptures. At that point, all the disciples deserted him and fled. All the disciples deserted him and fled. And the people who had arrested Jesus led him to the home of Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, and the elders had gathered. And the elders had gathered. Meanwhile, Peter followed him at a distance and came to the high lies attacking the truth. Jesus Christ is the truth. But they were trying to find witnesses who would lie about Jesus so they could put him to death. But even though they found many who agreed to give false witness, inside, the leading priest and the entire high council were trying to find witnesses who would lie about Jesus. Lies coming against the truth so they could put him to death. But even though they found many who agreed to give false witness, who agreed to lie about the truth, lie about Jesus, they could not use anyone's testimony. Finally, 2 men came forward who declared, this man said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days. And the high priest stood up and said to Jesus, well, aren't you going to answer these charges? What do you have to say for yourself? But Jesus remained silent. And the high priest said to him, I demand in the name of the living God, tell us if you are the Messiah, the Son of God. And Jesus replied, you have said it. And in the future, you will see the Son of Man seated in the place of power at God's right hand and coming on the clouds of heaven. You better believe it. Then the high priest tore his clothing to show his horror and said, blasphemy! Why do we need other witnesses? You have all heard his blasphemy. What is your verdict? Guilty, they shouted. He deserves to die. Then they began to spit in Jesus' face and beat him with their fist, and some slapped him, jeering, prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who hit you that time? Can you imagine? Bah, who hit you that time, Messiah? Know it all? Why don't you tell us, prophesy to us? Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant girl came over and said to him, "You were one of those with Jesus the Galilean." But Peter denied it in front of everyone. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. Later on, out by the gate, another servant girl noticed him and said to those standing around, "This man was with Jesus the Nazareth." Again, Jesus denied it, this time with an oath. "I don't even know the man," he said. A little later, some other bystanders came over to Peter and said, "You must be one of them. We could tell by your Galilean accent." Peter swore, "I curse, a curse on me if I'm lying. I don't know the man." And immediately the rooster crowed. Suddenly Jesus' words flashed through Peter's mind. "Before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." And he went away weeping bitterly. The last one, you better believe that Peter cursed. Swore and cursed. And I'm telling you, big bombs. "I effing told you, I effing don't know this effing better." Right there, the rooster crowed. Peter. Very early in the morning, the leading priest and the elders of the people met again to lay plans for putting Jesus to death. Then they bound him, led him away, and took him to Pilate, the Roman governor. When Judas, who had betrayed him, realized that Jesus had been condemned to die, he was filled with remorse. You see, Judas, he was okay with collecting money to betray him, but I don't think he really expected the death part to come in, right? But he was condemned to die. This is where you think, like, all these liberals, you know what I mean? All these liberals today who hate Jesus, they hate Christ, they hate the cross. What has Jesus done that we have been going through the entire history book of Matthew? Not one thing, but they still choose to hate. When Judas, who had betrayed him, realized that Jesus had been condemned to die, he was filled with remorse. So he took the 30 pieces of silver back to the leading priest and the elders. "I have sinned," he declared, "for I have betrayed an innocent man." "What do we care?" they retorted. "That's your problem." Then Judas threw the silver coins down in the temple and went out and hanged himself. The leading priest picked up the coins. "It wouldn't be right to put this money in the temple's treasury," they said, "since it was payment for murder." I wonder how much blood money is out there. How much of this murder money that we use today. Bunch of liars, murderers, and lovers of money. Isn't that what it is? That's what Jesus Christ says. The children of the devil are liars and murderers. You cannot serve God and money. They worship money, liars and murderers. "Well, but we can't put this back in the treasury," they said, "since it was payment for murder." After some discussion, they finally decided to buy the potter's field, and they made it into a cemetery for foreigners. That is why the field is still called the Field of Blood. This fulfilled the prophecy of Jeremiah that says they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price at which he was valued by the people of Israel, and purchased the potter's field as the Lord directed. That's from the Old Testament. That's like 4,000 years ago. Maybe 4,000 years ago, predicting the history that we're seeing. Now Jesus was standing before Pilate, the Roman governor. "Are you the king of the Jews?" the governor asked him. Jesus replied, "You have said it." But when the leading priests and the elders made their accusations against him, Jesus remained silent. Don't you hear all these charges they are bringing against you? Pilate demanded. But Jesus made no response to any of the charges, much to the governor's surprise. Now, it was the governor's custom each year during the Passover celebration to release one prisoner to the crowd, anyone they wanted. This year, there was a notorious prisoner, a man named Barabbas. As the crowd gathered before Pilate's house that morning, he asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" He knew very well that the religious leaders had arrested Jesus out of envy. Just then, as Pilate was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent him this message: "Leave that innocent man alone. I suffered through a terrible nightmare about him last night." Meanwhile, the leading priest and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas to be released and for Jesus to be put to death. So the governor asked again, "Which of these two do you want me to release to you?" The crowd shouted back, "Barabbas!" Pilate responded, "And what should I do with Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" They shouted back, "Crucify him!" "Why?" Pilate demanded. "What crime has he committed?" What crime has he committed? Why? I guess there was no freedom of speech back then, right? Why? What crime has he committed? The mob roared even louder, "Crucify him." Pilate saw that he wasn't getting anywhere about that. Getting anywhere, and that a riot was developing. So he sent for a bowl of water and washed his hands before the crowd. He says, "I am innocent of this man's blood. The responsibility is yours." And all the people yelled back, "We will take responsibility for his death, we and our children." Isn't that amazing? Isn't that what Jesus Christ told them? Didn't we just read this? When Jesus says that, "I tell you the truth, that the judgment will fall on this very generation." This was in Matthew chapter 23. "I tell you the truth, judgment will fall on this very generation." And all the people said, "We will take responsibility for his death, we and our children." So Pilate released Barabbas to them. He ordered Jesus flogged with a lead-tipped whip, then turned him over to the Roman soldiers to be crucified, to be murdered by a bunch of liars, people trying to give false testimony. And there were many of them. And murderers. This is the proof. You can live a perfectly honest life, speak truth, and you'll be put to death. What's the old saying? Snitches and ditches, right? Snitches and ditches, snitches and stitches. You speak truth and see what happens. See what happens to you. Some of the governor's soldiers took Jesus into their headquarters and called out the entire regiment. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. They wove thorn branches into a crown and put it on his head. And they placed a reed in his right hand as a scepter. Then they knelt before him in mockery and taunted, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spit on him and grabbed a stick and struck him on the head with it. When they were finally tired of mocking him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes back on him again. And they led him away to be crucified. Along the way, they came across a man named Simon, who was from Cyrene. And the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. And they went out to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. The soldiers gave him wine mixed with bitter gall, but when he tasted it, he refused to drink it. You're seeing Jesus on the cross. This is what happened. They tried to give him wine, but he refused to drink it. And they had nailed him to the cross. The soldiers gambled for his clothing by throwing dice. Then they sat around and kept guard as he hung there. A sign was fastened above Jesus' head, announcing the charge against him. It read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." 2 revolutionaries were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. The people passing by shouted abuse, shaking their heads in mockery. "Look at you now," they yelled at him. "You said you were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Well then, if you are the Son of God, save yourself and come down from that cross." The leading priests, the teachers of religious law, and the elders also mocked Jesus. "He saved others," they scoffed, "but he can't save himself. So he is the King of Israel, is he? Let him come down from the cross right now, and we will believe in him. He trusted God, so let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" Even the revolutionaries who were crucified with him ridiculed him in the same way. At noon, darkness fell across the whole land until 3 o'clock. At about 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you abandoned me?" My God, why have you abandoned me? Because God is life, not death. God abandoned Christ to die. God can never associate with death. So for Christ to die, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Some of the bystanders misunderstood and thought he was calling for the prophet Elijah. One of them ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, holding it up to him on a reed stick so he could drink. But the rest said, "Wait, let's see whether Elijah comes to save him." Then Jesus shouted out again, and he released his spirit. At that moment, the curtains in the sanctuary of the temple were torn in two. From the top to the bottom, the earth shook. Rocks split apart, and tombs were opened. The bodies of many godly men and women who had died were raised from the dead. They left the cemetery after Jesus' resurrection, went into the holy city of Jerusalem and appeared to many people. You see, this is the reason why we put our faith, trust, and life into Jesus Christ today, because of the power that it had. Look at what occurred. You had rocks split apart, and tombs were opened. The bodies of many godly men and women who had died were raised from the dead. They left the cemetery after Jesus' resurrection. They went into the holy city of Jerusalem and appeared to many people. That's amazing. This is the reason why it is so powerful. The Roman officer and the other soldiers at the crucifixion were terrified by the earthquake and all that had happened. They said, "This man truly was the Son of God." And many women who had come from Galilee with Jesus to care for him were watching from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee. You know, I always wonder, people, they want to say, well, where's this documented in the history books of of Israel? this miraculous sign of the secular history. I'm wondering, where are these history books that are 2,000 years old? Let's go through them. They act like they have a whole library of 2,000-year-old history books. Where are this library at? You're lucky to find anything really written about anyone or anything 2,000 years ago. Don't even mention Europe. That didn't exist. There was no Norway or Germany or Sweden or Britain. You forget about those histories. But I'm talking about the Jewish history, because we already have this history book from them. But where can I find those other ones? They make it sound like it's so easy. Like there's books and books and histories, a library of 2,000 years ago. Is there? Let me see these 2,000-year-old books that are written 2,000 years ago. I mean, we know this was written 2,000 years ago by eyewitnesses. This was eyewitness account by Matthew. Now, somebody will say, well, this was like, 40, 50, 60 years after. Really? Were you there? Were you there? How do you know? How do you know? You don't. What I want to know is, where are those history books that I could go and investigate myself? Are they not accessible to me? You have everybody always saying, well, there's no evidence of the history of these things. There's only very few talked about the miraculous history that we have, that the bodies of many godly men and women who had died were raised from the dead. Well, why don't you let me read those books? Where are those books at? Where's this 2,000-year-old library at? That's what I want to know, right? It's all about what you believe. And the reason why I'm still talking about this now, and why this is life for me. It doesn't matter what anybody says. I can only speak for myself. I can only do for me. I've already been possessed by the Holy Spirit. I'm already brain dead, like I've mentioned. I don't care what anybody says. I don't need to prove nothing to anyone. I do what God wants me to do. Period. Will prove us to God? I don't need to. You believe what you want to believe. One thing is true. We're all going to face it in the end. One for one. And this is the history of life after death. As evening approached, Joseph, a rich man from Arimathea, who had become a follower of Jesus, went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. And Pilate issued an order to release it to him. Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a long sheet of clean linen cloth. He placed it in his own new tomb, which had been carved out of the rock. Then he rolled a great stone across the entrance and left. Both Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting across from the tomb and watching. The next day on the Sabbath, the leading priests and Pharisees went to see Pilate. They told him, "Sir, we remember what the deceiver," calling truth deceiver, once said while he was still alive, that after 3 days I will rise from the dead. So we request that you seal the tomb until the third day. This will prevent his disciples from coming and stealing his body and then telling everyone he is raised from the dead. If that happens, we'll be worse off than we were at first. Pilate replied, "Take guards and secure it the best you can." So they sealed the tomb and posted guards to protect it. The only thing I can do is speak for myself on how God has just given me new life. And it doesn't matter if I live on the street and I'm homeless or anything. God guides me in everything. Jesus Christ was homeless. You think I'm too good to be homeless? I don't think so. I do what God wants me to do. But I'm like, tomorrow, Good Friday, is April 18th. And 7 years ago on April 18th, 2018, my life changed. I could point it down to a day. You know, I haven't had a drink in 7 years. I haven't had a drink in 7 years. And God completely restored me. It's almost like being born again, like rebirth. You know, in the future, the truth will tell you the future. So I tell you the truth that my life changed in April 18th, 2018. In the future today is evidence of that. I'm brain dead. Sam's already gone. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm the fearless disciple of Jesus Christ until death and everlasting life. And that's where I put my trust, my faith, and life. I'm living proof that I could go from this way to this way. I could go from the most infamous to now beloved through Christ Jesus. And you can too. You can do whatever it is you want to do. Just be honest. Today is the day of salvation. From this moment forward, live your life of truth. Live your life of truth. Do whatever you want to do. And if there's things that you don't want everybody to know or you know, today is the day of salvation. I already told you the future. I already told you the truth tells you the future. We don't have good days left in America. You need to put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ now. Live a life of truth. If there are things in your life that you don't want others to know, then stop doing it. That's it. Stop doing it. Believe in Jesus Christ. So we'll be back on Tuesday, 11 o'clock with the conclusion of Matthew chapter 28. And we'll start off on Mark chapter 1. Till then, stay blessed. God bless. We'll talk to you then.